Welcome to the Advanced DJ Masterclass for DJs looking to expand their skills and build the energy of their mixes. We'll be covering techniques to amplify your buildups, tricks to make your drops hit harder, and ways to transition from one track to the next. We hope you enjoy the video. Now let's jump right in.
Basically today we're going to be going over some creative mixing techniques, a drop switch basically for trap music. This one's cool because they're different basically genres technically, and the BPMs are a lot different, but with a little bit of adjusting we can get a really cool drop switch from these two trap tracks. So the first one, the first track that we're actually going to be using is Take 5 and Take 5 Silver, and we're going to be mixing it into Troy Boy Take 5 Silver track is at 140, and then the Troy Boy is at 74, so we're going to bump that down to 70. And the reason why is because you can mix half times into each other and make them aligned. So we all know that 128 will mix into 128, 126 and 126, etc. But you can also do double times and half times. So if my track is at 70, multiply that by 2 and it's 140. So the track is actually going to be aligned, and one is going to be sped up or just staying at the same tempo, and one's going to be slowed down. And so by the time they cross each beat, they're going to be back and aligned. So it's a really cool little tip, can allow you to actually mix a lot more music together than just sticking to the same BPMs or roughly similar. What we're going to be doing is, I already set a cue point at the last vocal of this this drop. It's the fourth beat of this bar, so it's the very last one, and I just set a cue point there. I could do a hot cue, but for just this tutorial I'm just going to be setting a regular cue point. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be waiting for basically the last little, so this is what it's going to sound like. Basically all I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit Q and hit or drop down the volume fader. You can press play pause in order to end the first track, but with the vinyl speed adjust it can either like slow down really slowly or it can stop right away. But I just use the volume fader just because if anything goes wrong I can switch it back right to the drop, or it just cuts it immediately. So yeah, let's get back into this mix. So I can already bring this one in, I just have to get the timing right. Yeah, so cool little thing, I'm gonna go through that one more time. So let's try that out, but at a different point. So it didn't work on that one. Let's try it just before the drop. Nope, so basically the best point there that I determined was yeah, so this was just kind of like a little example of the type of creative mixing that you can do when you can just figure out different BPMs of different tracks and just how the vocals work with each other and just playing around with it. So it's cool because it gives the crowd something unexpected to look for. And yeah, it's just a quick little thing that you guys can do. Let me know what other kind of tutorials you guys want to see and if you like this tutorial. And yeah, so 2 tracks again were Take 5 Silver and Troy Boy And yeah, take care. See you guys in a future video. Peace. Today we're going to be discussing 3 little techniques and tips that you can use to spice up your build-up in your tracks, basically to amp up the drop, or either to just kind of add a little bit of your own flavor to it to make it more exciting if it needs to be, or just a little more crazier. So basically, mostly we're going to be using the beat effects, and we're going to be using the echo and the delay effect. So for the first one, we're going to be using the echo one, and if you guys are looking for the beat effects little section, it's usually on your mixer on Pioneer gear, and then if you have other pieces like that connect to the like a laptop that aren't standalone pieces, they're usually up here in the top row just above the platters, and you can select on the computer the echo and the 1/2 effect. So in order to toggle the 1/2 effect, it usually comes at 1 beat, so it's just lagging every beat. That's probably the default setting, and then you have to go to 1/2 beat, so bump it down to 1/2, and there we go. I'm gonna be starting off with the drop with this track, Debris and Our Psycho Merta. It's on NCS, and yeah, basically all I need is my echo effect to be toggled and my channel to be set to whatever channel the track is on. So because it's my first channel, I'm gonna set it to 1, and there we go, we should have it. So basically the sweet spot is about at 9 o'clock, and then more it gets kind of crazier. Add some filter in there, and then turn it off before the fill. Yeah, so basically that was the very first one. What you saw me do there was just basically twist the level of it to around 9 o'clock. So anywhere between 9 to 12 o'clock will give you a nice effect with the echo 1/2. And I think you have to move it from wherever 7 to 9 to actually hear the effect because it's so light. And then usually you can either stretch it into the fill, so where the vocals are usually before drop, or you can just cut it right before that starts, so where the buildup ends. And you just cut it down, and that's it, and there's no more effect, and you can have a clean drop. So the second effect that we're going to be using to spice up the build-up is the delay. So for the delay, we're basically going to be starting from 1/8 around 59 ms, and then what we're going to be doing, this one's a little bit trickier, but we're going to be turning up the level on it, and then as the last 4 beats of the build-up play, we're going to twist the time all the way to 1 ms. So we're basically compressing the delay by a lot. So I'll show you how this looks. So right now I don't really need to do it. Start to do it around the little last 4 bars. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys heard it there, it's super subtle, but essentially what we're doing is we're going from 1/8 to, or maybe even 1/4 if you can twist the knob that quickly, but basically we're jumping to 1 ms, and it creates this kind of delayed, compressed sort of filter slash flangery effect, but a lot lighter. It's basically a signature move from Martin Garrix and a lot of the stamped artists, but let's try that one more time. you can start to slowly crank it down. Yeah, so that was the second effect. That was the going to the delay 1% effect. And then for this last one, it's a little bit more trickier. I made a whole tutorial on this one, but it's actually using the acapella that Martin Garrix is famous for, which is the put your hands up in the air acapella.
Put your hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure you guys have heard that one. But anyways, I'll link you guys to the video where you guys can download this preset for free in the top hand corner, or you can just Google the put your hands up in the air Martin Garrix effect on YouTube and you'll find it. And then from there, just download it. It comes at 126 the BPM. So for this one, we're gonna have to bump it up to 128. And I personally like to put the cue right on the first word, and it automatically puts it just before that. But if you want the timing to be right, I'd suggest putting it there. I also put a hot cue there. And what we're gonna be doing is also turning up the trim because it's quite quiet. But we're gonna be waiting to just before, like a beat before the snare starts to start. So just before the build up, you're gonna have time to put your the two words like that just before the snare starts. So it's kind of tricky. I'm gonna show it to you guys right now. So yeah, that was basically the whole effect. Now, if you guys didn't catch it, I'm gonna do it one more time for you, and then I'm just gonna also pull up the vocal of it so you guys can hear me mixing it in. It's gonna take a little bit to get the hang of this actual technique, but shouldn't be that difficult. Or if you guys want to make it a little bit easier, you guys can move it to just before that, and then mix it in straight on the snare. Might be actually a bit easier, so let's try that out. So yeah, that was a pretty easy effect and just unique, and not a lot of DJs do them. But yeah, anyways, you guys can try that one out for yourself. Try with a bunch of different build-ups. Some they do work, some they don't work with. Try ones that don't have vocals. But yeah, anyways, so hope you guys enjoyed these 3 tips on how to spice up your build-up. If you guys want more tutorials, let me know in the comment section below. And yeah, I'll see you later. Peace. Alright guys, how's it going? Welcome back to another tutorial. Now in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do the infamous put your hands up in the air acapella layover that you hear in sets from people like Martin Garrix, Nicky Romero, and a bunch of other DJs. The most infamous version of this that you might have heard is probably in this video.
Put your hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air. in the air. Put your hands up in the air.
This is at Seagate Festival, I think. It's from 2015. Martin Garrix played it, and it was all over the social medias. It was trending, so it was a big thing. And from there, people really started to wonder how to actually do this effect, how to recreate it. So the track that he uses is Fox Stevenson and Kirby Hoo Ha, and then he has the Put Your Hands Up in the Air acapella that he plays over. But for copyright reasons, I won't be using the Fox Stevenson and Kirby Hoo Ha track, so I'm just gonna use Mark Villa Venture. It works pretty much the same, and I'll show you a bit of a different layering effect that you can do, and by using things like slip in your mix and stuff like that. So basically, essentially what I have is I have my Put Your Hands Up in the Air vocal queued up on my cue button, as you can hear.
Put your hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air.
And it's at 126 BPM. If you guys want to download this, I'll leave a download link down below. So make sure you grab this acapella. It's 2 minutes long. It's 126 BPM. High quality. It's the studio version, so you guys can use it in your own sets.
Hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air.
Anyways, so it's at 126 BPM. My other track is also at 126 BPM, which is Mark Villa Venture. And from there, right when the track gets into the break, and then eventually into the build-up kind of part of it, that's when I'm gonna be queuing up my Put Your Hands Up in the Air track, and then eventually play it. I'll quickly show you guys an example, then I'll go over that and maybe some other examples later in this video. So, without further ado, let's just get right into the break of this track. Yeah, so that was basically the whole technique. It wasn't really that difficult. The only thing is you have to get the timing really precise on this, because if you don't, it's just gonna be completely off. So, I mean, you can adjust the pitch tempo on the vocal, so you can make it go to like 133, for example.
Put your hands up in the air.
It'll basically sound the exact same if I go down to 120.
Put your hands up in the air.
It's just gonna go a bit slower. So this is really helpful if you wanna do mixes on things like a really fast bass, house tempo, or if you want to go a bit slower into like more of a 110 kind of mid-tempo. It can work on a whole bunch of different genres. I haven't tried it on trap and those things yet, but I'm sure you guys can play around with those, or I can make a tutorial if you guys want. So let me know if you guys want to see a tutorial on more like trap kind of music to use this vocal on, or other vocals. What I like to do is I like to have kind of like a rhythm that I usually go into to get the timing correct. And once I perfect this rhythm, it makes it really easy for me to just mix it into any break or build up. So it's kind of like the same rhythm that Martin Garrix uses in his Seagate set, where he kind of taps it into like a motion where he taps it 6 times, and on the 6th time he presses the cue button and lets it play out, or the play button.
Put your hands up in the air. Put your hands up in the air.
So I'm just gonna make the tracks play a little bit quieter, and I'm just gonna show you guys what kind of goes on when I'm thinking of how to beat match this together. So it's playing in my headphones. I have the vocal playing. So from there, I'll show you guys. Basically, right in those last 4 bars, in the last 4 bars of the little kind of break part going into the more epic part of it, so I'll let you guys hear what that sounds like. So the piano's building up, and so in this part, that's when the claps come in and that stuff. That's when you want to start layering over this acapella. But in these last 4 beats right here, where you guys can hear it kind of builds up the tension. that in those four bars, you really want, sorry, in those 4 beats, you really want to get the timing right for layering the acapella. So I'll show you guys again. So essentially what you want to do is you want to get it into kind of like a half of a beat before the actual starting beat of that more main part of the intro, part of the break. So essentially you want to get the timing to the point where it says put your hands up in the air. So the kick lands on the hands part of the vocal. So put your hands up in the air, put your hands up in the air. That's how you want to kind of layer it. Yeah, so that's the way to layer it. Let's find a different track that we can use to use the vocal on. Alright guys, so I have another track loaded up. It's called The Voyager's Force, and so I have the same acapella obviously. The track that I have now is at 128 BPM, so I bumped it down to 126. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I could bump up the vocals to 128. All that matters is that it's lined up and it won't be out of time, because if the vocal's at a different BPM and you have a track that it's at a different BPM, when you start lining it up and playing, the vocal will shift off beat and it'll, just won't sound in sync and it'll sound bad. So make sure that both of them are in the same BPM. Anyways, onto the mix. So again, I'll be kind of tapping my way in, I'll be queuing it up, and then I'll press play when I need to release it. And all it does is it really takes a bit of practice. It's really hard to explain. You kind of want to do it double time of whatever the BPM is. So if each beat is 1, 2, 3, 4, you kind of want to do a double time of that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically you want to double the 4 bars, so I'd say hit it maybe kind of 7 times, so one in between each of the beats and 1 on the beats as well. So it's super hard to explain, but all it is just practice. So I guess the best way is to just observe and try by yourself. So here it goes. I have Voyager's Force loaded up, so let's get right to it. You can stop the vocal at pretty much any time you want, but you want to do it at least four beats before the drop, so you have enough time for the drop vocal to play out of the track that's playing. But other than that, you can play around with it, try it at different BPMs and tempos, and try it on a whole bunch of different tracks. You might want to do it on tracks that don't have vocals over top of it, or else the 2 vocals are going to kind of clash over top of each other. But not the super easiest technique to do, but with a little bit of practice and kind of a perfection on the timing will do the entire difference. It just literally takes practice. Try it out with a bunch of different tracks. Try it out with the Hoo Ha Martin Garrix track. Watch the video a couple times, hear kind of how he layers it on, and then practice it yourself. So once again, guys, go down in the description and you'll find the download link for the Put Your Hands Up in the Air vocal. Quick word, if you guys are interested in one-on-one lessons with me where I can teach you anything that you guys see in the videos or anything else that you guys need help with, check out the link below. Book a session with me so I can help you DJ. And yeah, so I'll see you guys either in a one-on-one session or in the next video. Peace. So in today's tutorial, we're going to be covering how to do a spin out transition from 2 tracks. Basically, I'm just going to be using 2 bass house tracks, both at 126 BPM. We're going to do a simple beat match transition from the drop, and then at the end, we're going to spin out and do a cool little thing. So yeah, let's get right into it. So basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having our drop play, and then we're going to be mixing in our second track. We're going to have eventually bring up the lows for the second track, and then right at the end we're going to do echo on a 1/2 beat function, and then echo it out as we spin it out, and then lower the fader. So pretty much lowering the fader is going to be the most important part of this whole transition, just cutting it out at the right time. It'll matter just for beat matching or for doing this effect, so make sure you have this one nailed down. Let's start off with our first track. incognate back 4, and we're going to be mixing it into Kale Drill. So let's just start from the build up from this one. So I have my second track ready. They're the same BPM, and then just 1, 2, 3, 4. So now that they're both aligned, we're gonna mix it out at the end where the break starts to come in. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put echo out on the first track on the last 4 beats. And that's how we get into basically the breakdown of the second track. So what I did there was at the last 4 beats, it's usually some sort of fill put into the track. So for this one, it was this part right here. So it doesn't have any kicks in it. You can see that in the waveform it looks different too. So we can identify those sort of fills every 8 bars, I'm pretty sure. So after every 8th bar, so 7 of the bars will be kicks, the 8th bar will be the fill, and then it'll go back into the first bar, second bar, all the way to the 7th, and then 8th will be another fill. So that's how you can time in at what points do you mix in your track. So essentially, I mixed it in right at the beginning of the drop, but I could have mixed it in after 8 bars into the drop, and it still would have worked. But essentially what I did there was at the last 4 beats of that fill, I basically turned up my echo for that track, so it's aligned to channel 1. And then on the last 2 beats of that bar, I spun out and then lowered down the volume fader right when the next bar starts. So basically, echo out on the first beat, wait 2 beats, spin out the track so it spins out for 2 beats, and then put down the volume fader on the very last very last beat or the beginning of the next bar, so before it hits to that kick. So yeah, let's try that out one more time, and let's start from the build up again. And so pretty much how you get ready for this is basically you have your echo set to 1/2. You have your echo set to 1/2, which at the beginning it's at 1 beat, and then you just turn it down to 1/2, or on an effects knob you pretty much take it down to halfway, and that should do the halfway effect or the half beat effect. So once you have that, you can pretty much toggle it on, and then we're gonna mix in our we're gonna have the first beat aligned for our second track that we bring in. And yeah, we just wait until the drop hits. So let's try that one more time. So on this one, it's all already here in my headphones, so I can hear it. I have it set to mixing through the headphones. I'm gonna start tapping to align the beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now they're aligned. I'm bringing up my second track. This is the best place to bring it up. Toggle on my echo effect. And then I'm just waiting for this fill right here. Yeah, so pretty much what you saw me do there, I'll do it one more time. So we can try that even one more time. So essentially, I mean, you basically start the echo effect right in the beginning of that fill, and then on the last beat, sorry, not the second beat in, but the third beat in, you spin it out, and then you immediately put down your volume fader so that it doesn't hit the next beat and cause another effect or echo. And yeah, it just becomes a really clean spin out transition. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys want more tutorials like these, let me know down in the comments section below. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Hope you enjoy this tutorial. Yo guys, welcome back to another video. Now in this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how to make your drops hit harder, how to use the EQ knobs in order to make your drop stand out more from your mix, and just have a more powerful impact when you're playing it in your sets. The track that I'm going to be using today is Captain Curtis Pirate Bass. It's a 128 BPM, kind of big room electro house track, I'd say. Basically, what we're going to be doing is we're only going to be using the EQ knobs when using this little small tip. Now, before we get into this video, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, share, and if you guys want one-on-one tutoring with me, it's kind of like a Skype lesson. You guys can ask me any questions that you want on DJing. If it's a previous video, if you want to get more clarification or some extra examples or some problems that you're having with your own, DJing, definitely hit me up there. My link is down below. But without further ado, let's get right into this video. So I'm going to be starting from the break and build up-ish of the track. Just kind of let's rewind here. So essentially, I'm going to show you an example. I'm going to explain it, and then I'm going to go over it one more time. Yeah, so essentially what I did there was just manipulating the low bass. What you want to do is during the build-up, you want to take away the lower frequencies. It just kind of takes away the punch from the snare or the bass line, puts a little bit of a dampener on the build-up, and then right as soon as the drop hits, you probably want to do this maybe a beat before the drop hits or maybe 2 beats, somewhere in between that vocal chop length, and then from there, you just put it up to the max, or if you want to make it hit even harder, you just twist it a little bit more to maybe around max like 1, 2 o'clock, turning it down maybe to 9, 10 on the EQ knob, and then that's pretty much it. So I'll go over it one more time. So turning down the low EQ knob, little by little, you can do this little by little. I can use the filter knob to add more of an effect, to increase more tension. I can add some So yeah, you can use this on a different variety of tracks. It doesn't need to be, let's say, like an electro house or big room track. You can use it on pretty much anything. So I have a track here that's a trap track, more kind of like a future bassy trap track. But the same concept applies to it as well. So let's just start from the build up of this track. So yeah, you guys can hear that it essentially works on any genre. It's just if you really, really want your drop to stand out from the mix, because some tracks, they have a little bit of an underwhelming drop to them. Maybe it doesn't hit as hard. Maybe the kick that's used is a little bit of a softer kick. Sometimes you get really, really hyped with the drop and then it doesn't push forward that energy. This is a great tip to use for that. So a lot of, I think, like house tracks do that. So if you use a bunch of effects on your build up and you have like a roll going on to it, and you know, let's say like a spiral or a reverb, then when you're using that on the build up, it really expands the sound a lot. And so when the drop hits and you take the effects all off of it, it kind of takes it down to normal, and it seems like the build up is going, and it doesn't explode with, you know, the drop. It kind of dampens it. You know, when you take away all the effects, it kind of goes down to the drop. That's what it kind of seems like. I'm sure you guys have heard it in different mixes and stuff like that, where it's a little bit of an underwhelming drop. So when you're doing those sorts of things and you're adding more and more effects on it, it's really, really a good idea to kind of turn down the EQ knob, just dampen the build up a little bit, so that when you're putting the effects, it doesn't overwhelm the speakers and just the sound of the entire mix, so that when the drop hits, you actually have some sort of climax to whatever you're leading up to, and instead of just, you know, kind of leading up the climax and then not delivering, you know. So yeah, this was just a quick little tip on how to make your drops hit harder. Make sure you don't, you know, overwhelm it when you're clocking it over, just because it can, you know, redline, and then that doesn't really sound good. When you're using those effects, also one last tip is, if you're going to be turning down the low frequency knob and using effects, it kind of lets you use more effects without redlining. Because let's say my low frequency is at where it is normal, or just a bit more, and I add some like crazy echo, reverb, you know, effects and stuff like that, it might actually redline because it's expanding the sound. So EQ knobs for the build up, don't use it on every build up, but for those that you're trying to use more effects on and hype it up a little bit more, it's a great little tip for you to actually lead up to the drop and make it explode, rather than have this huge climax and then dip down and, you know, have an underwhelming drop, which isn't great for the crowd, isn't great for what they want to hear, and a little bit embarrassing for when you're playing a live set. It's happened to me, I know, a couple times. But yeah, so again, hopefully you guys enjoyed this little tutorial tip. Make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, share, and let me know what other tutorials you guys want to see. And yeah, peace. Yo guys, how's it going? So in this video, we're going to be talking about how to add small little scratch effects to your mix to add a little bit of a flair, a little bit of a personalized touch on the track. It's not really much of a big change to whatever track you're playing, but it can add some cool effects, especially for tracks that are in the genre of future bass, trap, dubstep, some of those kind of more melodic types. You can really add your own personal little flair and spice up the mix just a tiny bit more. Like I said, again, it's not really a huge kind of change into the track, but it does add a little bit of flair to it, and it's a super easy technique that doesn't require a lot of, you know, preparation for it. It's kind of a spontaneous little trick. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Now, before we get into the video, make sure you guys leave a like, subscribe, and share, and let me know what other tutorials you guys want to see. Now, the track that I'm going to be using is Shy by Geoxor. It's a bit of a future bass, kind of dubsteppy track. The artist is known to make more kind of dubstep tracks, but this is a really cool future bass track that he made. Yeah, it's super great, and this is a perfect track to use this little effect on. So essentially, what I'm going to be using is the platter and also the slip button over here, and just a bit of timing on my end to make sure that the scratch doesn't interfere with any actual kicks that are prominent in the song and stuff like that. And this is mostly used in kind of like the little fills that the breaks have. So if a drop goes for 8 bars, then it'll have like a small 1 bar little fill where it has like a vocal or like a scratch thing or like some drum hi-hat, you know, fill or something like that. And that's the perfect time where you want to use these sorts of effects. So what you guys want to do is the slip button on. So after you got the slip button on, that's when you want to use this effect, because if you have the slip button off, the effect won't work and you'll just mess up the track and everything like that. So what is the slip button actually used for? Why are we using it? It's because whenever we do an effect or do an auto beat loop, slip allows us to just continue along with the track like it's like nothing ever happened to it. So let's say we stop the track, or we slow it down, or we hold the platter and the track stops. But if we have slip mode on, it just continues. So next time we play the track, it just keeps going from where it would normally be left off on. So if we don't have slip mode on, if I stop the track, let's say for now, I'll show you guys an example. So I have just the beginning intro of it playing. So this is without slip mode. So I have the track playing. If I stop it and let go, it'll play from the point where I just stopped it from. So, but if I have slip mode toggled on, like I have right now, when I play it and then I stop it, it'll just continue from whatever point, you know, it would normally continue on. So, play, stop it, leave it for a little bit longer. See? So it allows you to just continue on with the track. So moving on to, so see, it's still on, and as soon as I kind of, even if I skip back a track, if slip mode is on, it'll just continue playing from wherever it's playing. It doesn't care if you know, move it to the end of the track and try to start from there, or cue it up somewhere else. It'll just continue on playing from where it left off. So anyways, I have my slip mode on. I have my track ready to go. And essentially what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be scratching my platter a little bit and letting it go, and then just letting it continue on. So here's an example. Let's get right into this track. Yeah, so essentially that's the kind of little idea behind it. I'm going to do a second run of it, but you know, essentially you just want to play around with it and have good timing on it, because sometimes you can over scratch it, and what'll happen is actually you will kind of like skip over the beat where it hits, and so it'll just kind of skip a beat and it'll make it seem a little bit odd and offbeat. But if you, let's say, scratch it on time, it'll make it seem like there's some sort of scratch little effect going in there, and the beat hits, and it's kind of like a little personalized effect that you can use. It doesn't really add too much, but it's a cool fun effect if you want to throw it into your mix. Just spice it up a little bit. But anyway, so we have the next part coming up. I'm just gonna try it one more time. So yeah, that was basically the idea behind it. It's nothing too intense, nothing that you want to throw into every single mix, you know, that you're doing, and every single track that you're playing, but it's a little bit of a fun, you know, kind of little trick that you can do and kind of spice it up, have some fun. Say you're getting a little bit bored, you can kind of throw that into the mix, test out your timing a little bit, and just have some fun generally. It'll work on a bunch of different tracks, but I really love to use it with tracks like these, like future bass ones. Add a little bit more kind of scratching elements to it. Even though I'm not really scratching, it's kind of like a small little effect that you can throw in there. But yeah, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and share this around. Let me know what other tutorials you guys want to see. And so yeah, I'll see you guys either in the one-on-one session or in the next video. Peace. Alright guys, so in this video we're going to be talking about how to do the spinback effect when transitioning from one track to another. And essentially, all that we're going to be using is the vinyl speed adjust, the vinyl platter, and if we want, we can add in the echo effect for the track that we're mixing out of the mix. Essentially, what I'll be doing is I'll be mixing the two tracks just as normal, but at the end, when I would usually use an effect like echo or delay or something like that to kind of fade away the other track really quickly in like a smooth way. Another thing I can do is actually just spin back the vinyl platter and wait until it slows down and then put down the volume of that first track while having the second track already playing. So just gonna basically demonstrate to you guys. So we have a track here. I'm just gonna be using the end beat just to make it a lot simpler. But yeah, let's hit play on that. And let's beat match it into the other part. So it's currently so we have a beat match. Now we're mixing the bass lines. And basically what I'm gonna do, put echo on the first track, start echoing it in as we exit, and then just decrease it. That was basically the technique. I'm going to show it to you guys one more time. It does take a little bit of practice to do, because what you have to do is, while this track is still playing, in the last couple seconds before you actually do the spin back, you have to adjust the echo effect to start affecting the first track that's being transitioned out. And then as soon as you get to the point where it's the end of the track, you spin it back and you put it down. Because what the echo effect will do is it will let you just basically carry on that vinyl spin back effect without actually having that track playing. Because say for example, I don't have my echo effect on and I'm going to be transitioning from the end of this track, and if I don't decrease the volume of the track, it's not going to stop on its own. So as you can hear, it's just going to continue on playing. No matter how long I do it, it's just going to continue playing. So when I have the echo effect, even though my track volume is down, there will still be sound echoing out of that vinyl spin back. That's why it's such a great technique, and it goes hand in hand. So yeah, let's just try again with the drop. So I'm beat matching. So I have the two beat matched. I can see that the end is coming up, getting ready. Around in the last two bars is when you want to start doing this. And so the echo effect pretty much stops right when that small 4 to 8 beat gap is between the drop and the break. So right when that new melody starts up usually is when the effect stops, and it creates a really nice transition into the next break of the track. So I'm going to show it to you closer up on the platter of what I do. So I have it mixed. I match the two bass lines and then cut out the second one. I'm closing up to the end, so I start putting in my echo effect. And that's it. And so you do have to put a little bit of pressure on the plate when you're doing the spin back. I know the CDJ platters are actually weighted, so if I do a small thing like that, it won't go as far as it did just right now. It will actually probably only go around this much, like a quarter of the wheel will go around if you actually do like a small tap. So you're gonna have to really spin that platter back if you're on CDJs. If you're on smaller controllers like these, like the SDGRX or other ones, then, you know, a good enough spin will, you know, be enough for it to last the amount of time that you need it to last in order to get that good full transition. So yeah, I'll show you guys one more view. So yeah guys, that was basically the Spinback effect transition. You guys can apply this technique to pretty much any genre that you want. Trap, dubstep, house, tech house, bass house, future house, mid-tempo, anything. This works for so many different genres, and it's just a really great transition tool. So in some tracks, for example, when you lower the volume of the second track, it's pretty noticeable because it could be, a different energy that's being shown in the second track than the first one. It could be a different genre. So the Spinback technique, it kind of echoes out the second track. And while you're hearing the echoing effect of that first track being transitioned out, you're already getting used to the sound and the chords and the ambiance of the second track coming in. So that's why it's such a cool technique to use. So again, just a quick recap, you can use it without the effect. It just has a kind of abrupt stop to it. So when you're doing the spin back and once it's reaching the end of that spin back, what you do is you basically just continually lower the volume until it's out of there. The echo technique, the echo addition that you have in order to kind of make the sound last longer is super great. You can use it with different things like delay and stuff, but echo works the best at 1/2 beat. You can use it with other ones, but it's just that the spin back sounds a lot better when it's at 1/2 beat of echo. Of course, you have to put it to the channel that you're spinning out. So if I did the echo effect on the track that's coming in and I did the spin back, then the echo wouldn't affect it. So I have to make sure that the channel is directed to the one that I'm transitioning out with the spin back technique. Another thing is the vinyl adjust. So as you guys saw, when I'm doing the vinyl adjust and my track is still playing, the vinyl speed adjust will adjust the amount of time that it'll take to get back into that track. So for example, if it's all the way down and I'm playing a track, if I do the vinyl spin back, it'll start playing exactly from when that vinyl spin back finishes. If I do it at half, it'll take a little bit more time. And if I do it to the very end, so the full speed adjustment, so it takes the longest amount of time, when I do the spin back, it'll take a longer amount of time to, get back into the track. So that can be a useful one if you're not going to be using the echo effect. Just put the vinyl speed adjust to all the way up, spin back your track, and you can freely just wait until you're comfortable lowering the volume of that track and getting rid of the spin back. Practice this one, guys. It's a very good technique in order, just for any genre that you can use. So yeah, go ahead and try that, and let's move on to the next video. In today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how to make your drops hit harder in your mix. Basically, this is a really simple technique that a lot of DJs use. It's really popularized by Laidback Luke. He used it in one of his tutorials, and I thought you guys might like to know this one. This is a pretty cool trick. I use it in my videos and in my live sets, and it really does make a difference, and it adds a different kind of element, gives your track a harder hit. And sometimes for different types of tracks, it's useful to give it that extra kind of boost and make the drop hit harder. For example, if it's kind of like a laid-back chill track and you're trying to transition into a harder genre. The technique basically only includes the low frequency knob, or you can use it in combination with the filter, and that's what I like to do most of the time. The track today that we're going to be using is Brassy by Sophus Wine. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it. The track sounds like this on its own, and I'll start it from any of the effects that I'm going to be showing you guys. So let's just go back. And so for this type of technique, what you basically want to do is while the buildup is going, you want to turn down your low frequency knob. Sometimes it can be your mids, but I like to turn down the low frequency knobs just in case there's any bass in the build-up, and just basically to isolate the higher frequencies in the track, but also tune them out with the filter knob. And this kind of creates the illusion that the track is kind of fading away, and then when the drop goes, you put everything back to kind of its normal position. The effect kind of makes it seem like the drop is more full of energy, and it just makes it sound better. So I'll show you this with the technique. So I'm going to be using the low frequency knob and the filter knob for this one. So check out the technique, and basically what you saw me do was turn down this knob basically to about half, to about 9 o'clock, and then I kind of turned up the filter up more when the buildup was progressing, and then as soon as the 4 bars before the drop hit, I turned down the low frequency knob just before that. So I had 4 beats to basically turn this one back up, and I usually did this kind of in the last 2 beats before the drop, and then basically that's finished. And I'm sure you guys can hear a bigger difference in the second version where I use this technique. Made the drop hit a lot harder, and it kind of, especially when you're playing for a crowd and using this technique and trying to get them pumped up, it really is effective, and it can work on a variety of tracks. So I'll choose a different one just to show you guys what it sounds like. So the second track that I'm going to be showing you guys this technique with is La La Life by Jasted. It's on Future House Music, so if you guys want to check that out, I'll link it down below. So this is what the track sounds like without any of the techniques that I'm going to be showing you guys. That was the version where I didn't use any of the techniques. So now I'm going to be showing you guys what it sounds like with the technique of hitting the drop harder. So again, I'm going to be using these 2 knobs right here, the low frequency and the filter knob. So yeah, let's check the same effect on this track. Made it seem like the drop was filled with a lot more energy and power, and that's basically what you guys want to do when you're playing your live sets and you're getting to the end stages of your set where you're really trying to pump up the crowd. So if you guys like this technique and you want to see more, make sure to leave a thumbs up on this video, comment down below, follow me on all my social medias like Facebook, Instagram, and definitely, you know, of course, subscribe on YouTube and share with all your friends and stuff. So yeah, peace.